Welcome to a video on steels. Not studs, but steels. Let's talk. So steels, like I said, great material, super strong, actually not that expensive, not as expensive as I thought. Found some good supply, saved about £1,000, £1,500 on them as well. And would have saved more if the engineer didn't overspec one of them. However, in an old house like this, they didn't use steel, and they don't have steel in them for a reason, because they're really not suited to these new things being thrown in them. I mean, look, they work, clearly, doesn't cause crazy issues, but when you're putting steels in, sometimes you're moving, the house sort of flexes a little bit. You've got acros holding things up, you've got the timber moving, and that's fine. Houses have some flex in them. As solid as they are, they have some flex in them. Issues come when your steels are this big, but your gap is this big, but you have to get it up and in and fitted in a certain time frame, in certain temperatures. And remember, with steels, you can't just put a steel in, it has to sit on a pad stone. This is an engineering brick pad stone of a certain size that the engineer specified. Sometimes you get pad stones and they're actually pad stones, they're little stones that sit, and that's fine. But this was specified for whatever reason, and of course we've had to go to the extent of this whole wall for various reasons I explained in my other video. Now, when you're looking at doing steels, there's a few things to note. Your measurements have to be super, super accurate. I mean, these guys got it spot on, and we had to shave some off. Not their fault, but because we couldn't actually get steel in, because it was measured exactly right, and you need some leeway to get it in. Working with steels is so manual. The guys were basically lifting, putting a block on, resting, lifting, putting a block. And you can use genies and things like that, but when you're on certain floors and there's no support, etc., you have to be careful about what you're doing with steels. They're heavy. They are dangerous. They use the block and tackle to lift it, which is somewhere in this ceiling. If you look over there, you'll see what looks like some sort of yellow, ratchet strap thing. I think that's part of the bolt and tackle, and they've taken it with them. I said, you can have it. What am I going to do with that? On Amazon though, 35 quid for a 1 ton lift. Not bad, compared to the price of a genie. It takes time, and it always takes longer than you think because of issues like the hip being shorter, or having to poke it in, or having to cut through wood, or having to build engineering brick pad stones in conditions that are not really conducive to mortar curing correctly. You're going to have things like this, which is kind of a splice where the steel is spliced in two and bolted together. I think those are M16 bolts, might be M18 bolts. And that is because, having a steel, 8 meters long across here is impractical, impossible really. So it has to be cut in the middle somewhere. And that's really important. Now, you'll see some gray on here and you'll see some red, unfortunately. The red is red oxide, and that's, protective against corrosion to a certain extent. However, this gray stuff is zinc phosphate. This is a primer. It's a corrosion resistant paint. Now, you can have it galvanized, which is hot dipped in zinc. I think zinc phosphate again, or zinc oxide. Super expensive, 800 quid for these steels to do that. Only really necessary if you're outside and if you're in weather conditions. However, engineer, and they don't always do this, so thanks again, specified zinc phosphate primer on these metals. So we painted them, the tin was 70 quid, we've used 10% of it, so 7 quid worth of paint. I need to go over it a little bit again, but it had to be done, and it does protect it more against corrosion than just simply red oxide. Now, if we look up, you can see what this is holding up, which is two rather large chimney breasts, which they do have these half brick kind of supports coming out of it. So, we're not taking the whole weight of it, but we're taking a lot. Now, if we have a little cheeky look up here, underneath, can you see that? That's a top plate. That's welded to the steel by the fabricators. And that, essentially, it holds the chimney, because the steel along here holds this weight of it, and the top plate of a certain thickness then holds the rest of it close to the wall, and then they do the calculations and it all holds it. But I haven't worked with steels before for a reason. They're a pain in the arse. I didn't really want to do them here either, but it made a humongous difference when we're living here. Moving forward, I won't be doing steels either in projects, unless it really makes a big difference, because it's just not worth it. Some people like chimneys, I hate them. Some people like them. So if you're gonna do steels, if you walk in a project and think, yeah, open plan that, open plan this, get rid of the chimney breast, it'll be easy. No, it won't be easy. I promise you right now, it will not be easy. unless you're in a new build, then it can be easy. And steels are gonna cause problems, you know, like this is lower than the ceiling height, so there's gonna have to be a bulkhead in here. This is fine because there's gonna be a built-in wardrobe here, like I said. But next door, you know, there's just gonna be a little box, which is fine. You know, it's not the end of the world. And that actually shows really nicely the steel with the engineering brick as toy soldiers, or soldiers to kind of make up the difference, mortared on with the top plate behind it as well, and the slates at the top adding further support. I mean, it's a nice chimney breast up there, I must say. It's well done, but unnecessary. And we've got, you know, a steel running along here as well. Humongous one, we've got a steel running across there. You know, all of them took a lot longer to install, so take my word for it. If you're doing steels, make sure you've really, really considered the cost of it, because these steels took so long that lots of other work we were meant to do couldn't be done. So, look, steels, yeah, they need a lot of thought. Make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon.